All right, welcome. Today I am going to be playing Pokerogue, and this is a browser game, roguelike, based on Pokemon. First, it asks, who you want to play. Do you want to be a boy or a girl? And then it has the options to do classic run or daily run. I'm going to opt for classic. It tells you, you can choose between all of the starters to start your runs. So it goes all the way up to, I believe, Gen 9 currently. And, obviously the later generations have a much more, diverse move set, especially when they evolve dual typing. So to start, it's really your choice, who your favorite starters are. Obviously with later gen, being more popular, a lot of people tend to go the later gen. You'll see that later on, it doesn't really matter who you start with, because what you want to do is just play. Just play and catch as many Pokemon as you can to fill up your starting line. I'm going to go ahead and choose a few Pokemon here. Now you'll see at the top left corner a number which indicates, I guess, points. And you'll see at the bottom right 0 out of 10 and start. Now you can choose up to 10 points to start. So you can see here I decided to go with Piplup, and I'm thinking Chespin for a little bit of diversity, maybe even Fennekin. Still kind of figuring it out, trying to see what would be best. Piplup obviously evolves into Empoleon, which is a water steel. Chespin evolves into a grass fighting type, which I thought would be decent. Little did I know that Chespin doesn't really learn fighting moves to start. So I have my lineup here. You can see 10 out of 10. And I'm going to go ahead and just start it off. And right away, it goes into a battle. Now, the thing with this roguelike is there's no routes. There's a map that you can get, so you can choose where you want to go for, catching different types of Pokemon. But right at the beginning, every battle is going to be increasingly harder and harder and harder until you eventually white out, or you manage to get all the way to battle 200, which is Eternatus, who has 2 stages. It's pretty tough. You can see something wasn't right. You can see I'm adjusting the window a little bit because it was a little off center. So if this happens, if you reach a bug or a glitch or something like that, you can just refresh the page and it'll kind of just reload everything. You can see me trying to really get everything into the window. So you can see at the top right, town 1, and I have 1,000 $. This is what everyone starts off with. So there's like tutorial messages. I've played this before a while ago, so I kind of knew what it was basically talking about. It's really for people who have really just never played Pokemon ever. To kind of give you like a step-by-step. So that's cool. So if you catch or defeat the battle, you're given options to choose a free item, or you can buy items at the top row. So I decided to get a dire hit, which is good for 5 battles. Increases your chance of a crit. So you can see I'm just kind of catching as many Pokemon as possible. And you can see at the bottom, Purloin was added as a starter. So now, when I go to redo this, like start a new run, Purloin and also Ekans, you saw me catch earlier, and now Routes, you can choose them as a starter Pokemon. And Routes is really good. Later on, evolving into Gardevoir or Gallade. So once your party is full, if you catch another Pokemon, you can choose whether or not you want to keep that Pokemon in your party or just kind of just release it, basically. So you go through battle after battle until you reach trainers or even gym leaders that give you some pretty neat items. Things called egg vouchers that you can use in the egg gacha. You know, there's a gacha method tied into this that gives you a chance to basically hatch Pokemon, like new starters, that you can use on runs later on. Now, you'll see also when I get into the items after a battle that my luck is D. Now, to increase your luck, you want shiny Pokemon in your party. And you want to keep them alive. So, if you run into a shiny Pokemon, you want to try your hardest to catch it. If you don't end up catching it, it's okay. You know, you can cheese it, technically, by refreshing the page. Sometimes the save state is before the battle. So you can technically try again, but each run has a seed tied to it. So if, let's say, Fuecoco, accidentally killed a shiny Bellsprout, for instance, you can reset it, try to catch it. But if you do the same things, like the same attack, same everything is going to repeat itself exactly how it was. So if I accidentally crit on like an ember, that ember will crit every time. So it's good to keep that in mind, so that way you can maybe change how you go about trying to catch that Pokemon. You can try to, like, instead of Ember, maybe Scratch. Try to basically change it up a little, so that way you're not doing the same exact thing and wondering why is this critting every single time. I just wanted to dwindle it down a little bit to try to catch. So my first run is pretty ordinary. I'm getting some pretty basic items because my luck is only D level. It's not too great. So this is your rival. They pop up every now and then. After I beat the rival, they give you an EXP all and EXP charm. Now what this does is, now every time you either catch a Pokemon or defeat it, all of your Pokemon are going to gain experience, which is great. It helps with leveling, it helps with diversity, so that way, if you wanted your routes, for instance, to level up and eventually evolve, you don't necessarily have to include it in battles. So this is essentially everything. I didn't really get far in this so far. Obviously this is a fresh start, and so here you can see a map is one of the options to choose from. Now, with a map, you can use this in tandem with what's on the Pokerogue wiki page that you can just Google and look up. Now, another cool thing about this is you can change your game speed, HP bar speed, EXP gain speed, all these different settings you can kind of click through to make it more your style. You can see the window type. Like, I kind of like number 5. I'm gonna stick with that. You can see damage numbers. I'm not too interested in damage numbers, but you can use it to kind of figure out the range of your attacks, so you can calculate, whether or not an attack is actually going to faint the Pokemon or get it to just below or just above fainting. You have all these different options for audio. Some people like the route music, some people don't. You can change that. So I'm obviously going to be taking the map here just because it can really help with choosing which route you want to take throughout your run. And you'll see later on that you'll have options to choose from, whether it's a grassy field, the metropolis, or the lake, which is your starting routes. And along with that, you can catch different Pokemon that would normally appear in those routes. So obviously if you chose the lake, you would get more water Pokemon. Now, Zigzagoon is a really good starting Pokemon. I say this because of the ability Pickup. Now with Pickup, every time you either catch a Pokemon or defeat it in battle, or if you really defeat trainers too, Pickup has a chance of randomly picking up items that these Pokemon would normally carry. Whether it's a berry, it could be a random berry, or an item like a Quick Claw, or something that would be beneficial to the run. So, and obviously if you have more than one Pokemon with Pickup, the more chances you'll have of one of them picking up an item. There are a few Pokemon that have this ability. One of them obviously is Zigzagoon. Another I realized later on in this run is Meowth. So if you run into those Pokemon, you want to make sure you catch them and add them to your party. I like to play fast. I don't really care too much about, text boxes saying, oh, it's you got a crit, or, whatever it may be. So I do apologize if the text boxes are kind of zooming by. It's only because I've played Pokemon before, and I have played Pokerogue before a long time ago. Yeah, this is one of the harder battles. You can see it's not really working out too well. Mainly because the EXP All and the EXP Charm are only helping my party a little bit. And you can adjust this because you can technically release Pokemon so your other Pokemon get more experience with the EXP all versus, someone in your party you really don't care about. What I should have done was release my Purloin because I just caught it to have it as a starter. Squovit is a decent Pokemon. It's not too great, but it does have the ability Cheek Pouch that has a chance of not using a berry when you use a berry. When you use a berry, there's a chance it won't be used up. So if you have like a Lumberry on Squovit, and it gets paralyzed, there's a chance that after using the Lumberry, it still has a Lumberry on them. So it's good. I mean, that small chance, some people, who do this, play this kind of hardcore, would say it's okay. It's not the greatest thing, but every little bit helps, especially earlier on when you're first playing this. You can also see whenever you catch a Pokemon, their IVs and how powerful they really are. So if you're looking for, let's say, a good fighting Pokemon like Machop or something similar that you want high attack, if you catch it and you see that the IVs are kind of just meh, they, for some reason have a higher special attack than normal attack stat, you might want to reconsider having it in your party, or maybe catching a different one that might have a higher attack than special attack. Now, there is a chance on your routes, or as you're progressing, that you'll run into a double battle. So it's important to rearrange your party so whoever you want to really level up or just have like a good combo team, you want to make sure they're second in your party just in case. But you obviously do have the chance to swap out Pokemon right at the beginning if you want. I'm going to try to catch this young goose. Now, another important thing to keep in mind with double battles is you can only catch one Pokemon per battle. So, yeah, see, I accidentally killed it. But in order to catch whatever Pokemon you want to catch out of the two, you want to make sure you faint the other Pokemon first. So this is a gym trainer. You can see my party is struggling a bit. Level 13 Vincino, I'm gonna get wiped. There's no stopping it. Yeah, it's faster than all of my Pokemon. And yep, I don't have any. You can't use items in the middle of a battle. So that's very important to keep in mind. Your items, you buy potions. Later on, you can buy full heals, and much later, you can buy things like full restores, Sacred Ash that revives all of your fainted Pokemon. But that's much, much later in the runs. But if you defeat a gym trainer, you'll get what's called an egg voucher. Now, these egg vouchers can be used in the egg gacha machine. You can see here that there's not just shiny Pokemon, there's different levels of shiny. So there's normal shiny, red shiny, and blue shiny. And blue shiny is the top tier shiny. And it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their IVs. It's more based on luck. So if you happen to catch... Oh, I'm sorry. I did that in the wrong order. So there's normal, blue, and then red. Red is the top tier shiny. So if you end up either catching a shiny or hatching a shiny, if it's a normal shiny, great. If it's a blue shiny, even better. If it's a red shiny, you got so lucky. You got really lucky. So, and it all pertains to what items you get in between battles. So, you'll see in some of the battles, like before the items appear, there's 3 Pokeballs, and then they turn into items. Sometimes there'll be a Great Ball or an Ultra Ball that that opens up to a uncommon and sometimes rare items. Now, with your luck increasing with your shiny Pokemon in your party, you'll have a much higher chance of getting those items leveled up. You'll notice on one of the previous options that a Pokeball turned into a Great Ball before it opened up to the item. And this is what you want. You want those items to be leveled up, so that way there's an increased chance of getting a really good item. And this happens after every battle. So you can see in my I guess you can call it my box, I have these Pokemon to start with now. I caught Ekans, I caught Spearow, I caught Ralts, Zigzagoon, Purloin, Pidove, and I can use those Pokemon to start. And when you start, those Pokemon will be level 5. Now, I know early on in the routes, You run into Pokemon that are level 2, level 3, level 4, but when you start a new run, those Pokemon will be level 5. So, good to keep in mind when you are starting out. Now, here, I'm going through the Pokemon to figure out what moves they learn. I'm also looking at their base stats to see whether or not they're naturally a physical attacker or a special attacker. Quaxley is definitely a physical attacker. Scorbunny, definitely physical. Grookey's also physical. Decent speed. So, I'm going to jump ahead to kind of give you more of an idea as to what to kind of look out for. But this is basically it. You start your run. First you pick your starters. Start your run. And as you progress, you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And, luck, I believe, also plays a part in what Pokemon you run into on your routes. The higher your luck, the more chances you have into running into a more rare Pokemon that you can potentially catch. Alrighty, so this is going to be my new run. You can see I start with the Scorbunny here. Zigzagoon for pickup, and Ralts because I really want that fairy type. It's tempting to get a rare candy here, but I decided to go with low kick because Scorbunny with a fighting move, especially early, really helps the run because a lot of Pokemon are normal type in the beginning. So you really want to max your potential in the run by either starting with a Pokemon that has fighting moves or a fighting type Pokemon that can learn fighting type moves. Downside is there's also flying types, and fighting is weak to flying. So later on, I'm like, I have 2 Zigzagoons, and they're not really picking up much. The second Zigzagoon that I caught has the ability Gluttony, which doesn't help us here. So I will be making an effort to swap it out with a better Pokemon, or finding another Zigzagoon or another Pokemon in general that has the ability pickup. So this is a gym leader battle 20. You can see it's kind of red, indicating a boss. But I eventually get it knocked out. So you see in the top right, Egg Voucher Plus. Now, whenever you defeat a trainer, or a gym leader, I should say, for the first time, you'll get an Egg Voucher Plus, which has 5 chances. So you see the machine here. You have legendary in the middle and shiny up. You want the shiny up. Make sure you're selecting shiny up when redeeming your egg vouchers. The higher your luck, the better your runs are going to go. I've seen a lot of people playing online through, whether it's on Twitch or YouTube, that kind of get a little button happy with spamming through all the text, and they accidentally use their vouchers on the legendary egg gacha, which, in all fairness, is not bad, to get a higher chance of getting a legendary Pokemon to start your runs with. It's nice. It can definitely help with, some tough battles in the beginning. But you really want to use the gacha on the shiny up machine. Here I am in one of my runs, and the 4 out of 5 eggs are ready to hatch. Got a snow runt, which is pretty awesome. Bramblin. Now you see, not only have they been given, added as a starter, but they also get egg moves. And sometimes these egg moves can be really, really good. Now this is something I've never seen before. There's a department store sale. I believe this is random because I did not encounter this my previous runs, especially not this early. So you have options to get certain types of items, whether it's TMs, vitamins like calcium, battle item encounter, Pokeball encounter, it's probably best to get vitamins, just because, especially a vitamin that can help with the speed of your Pokemon so that you attack first, really can be detrimental in your run. So you'll see. I'll pick the vitamin counter here. I'm just kind of going through each option. But yeah, I don't need Pokeballs. I don't need buy it all items. TM counter is, it could be hit or miss. So vitamin counter is usually the way to go whenever you do encounter the department store sale. So you got Carbos, which is awesome, PP up, and calcium. And I picked the Carbos here because, again, you want speed. You want to hit first in your run. Alright, and later on, my rare egg hatched into a Sneasel, which is awesome. So, that's pretty much it. You keep playing, you keep progressing, trying to get as many Pokemon as you can. trying to get as far as you can in the run. And like I said, the max for the classic is 200 battles. Now, when you get to 190, you go into a realm that's like the end game of Scarlet and Violet, which is the unknown area where you encounter ancient Pokemon and future Pokemon, like Great Tusk. That's the ancient version of Donphan. These Pokemon you cannot catch unless you hatch them. So, if you use your egg vouchers on the legendary egg gacha, there's a chance you'll hatch one of these alternate dimension Pokemon. And if you do, you will then have the option to catch it, which is nice. It gives you more options to really diversify your team, especially when it comes to different things like abilities, egg moves, stuff like that. That gives you that little bit more of an edge in your run. So, all in all, this game is pretty awesome. I'm definitely going to be playing it more, and we'll see how far I can go. If you like this, like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.